Okay, so picture this. You're running like a booming online business.
Yeah.
Orders are pouring in,
Yeah.
but your checkout process is
Ah.
about as smooth as like a dirt road,
Right. Yeah.
you know? Um,
Yeah.
that's where automated testing swoops in to save the day.
Exactly.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into your stack of articles on automated testing. We'll uncover how it can transform your software from like buggy to brilliant.
Yeah, it's like trading in your horse and buggy
Right.
for a high-speed train.
Yeah.
In the fast-paced world of software development, relying solely on manual testing just won't cut it.
Right. Clinging to manual testing in today's world is like trying to conduct a symphony orchestra with a pair of spoons. So for those just tuning in, what exactly is automated testing and why is everyone making such a fuss about it?
So simply put, automated testing is like having a tireless robot QA team, just like working 24/7. It's about using software tools to execute pre-scripted tests on your application. These scripts simulate user actions, like logging in or making a purchase, to ensure everything functions flawlessly.
So instead of having humans manually going through these tedious steps over and over again, we have automated systems doing the heavy lifting.
Precisely. And this is crucial
Okay.
because it frees up your human testers to focus on more complex strategic tasks.
Yeah.
Plus, those robots, they're incredibly accurate and don't get tired or make mistakes like we humans inevitably do.
Which, let's be honest, we all do.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the articles you sent mentioned a great example of a login page test.
Right.
Walk me through how that works.
Okay, so imagine you're building a website.
Okay.
With manual testing, you'd have to have someone physically enter different username and password combinations again and again to make sure the login system is secure.
Right.
It's a time-consuming and, frankly, mind-numbing task.
Okay, I'm already feeling the boredom just thinking about it.
Right. But with an automated test, you write a script
Okay.
once that automatically feeds in those different combinations, checks for errors, and even generates reports.
Wow.
The script does all the tedious work, freeing up your human testers for more interesting challenges.
Talk about a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
But like any new tool or process, I imagine there's an initial investment involved, right?
That's true. There's a learning curve, and you might need to invest in some testing tools or training for your team. But the payoff, in the long run, is huge.
The age-old wisdom. You got to spend money to make money. So how does this translate to saving money in the long run?
Catching bugs early in the development process is key. Think of it like this. Fixing a small crack in your foundation is a lot cheaper than dealing with a major structural issue later on. The same applies to software. By finding and fixing bugs early through automated testing, you avoid costly fixes, delays, and frustrated customers down the line.
It's about prevention rather than scrambling to put out fires.
Yes.
Now, the articles you shared delve into various types of automated testing.
Right.
It can seem a bit overwhelming, so let's break it down.
Absolutely. Your sources highlight 5 main types:
Okay.
unit testing, integration testing, functional testing, performance testing, and regression testing. Each one tackles a different aspect of software quality.
Okay, so it's like having a team of specialized robot inspectors.
Yes.
Each with a unique role to play.
Exactly.
Okay.
Let's start with unit testing.
Okay.
This is the foundation of your testing process, where you check the smallest components of your software in isolation. Imagine you're baking a cake.
Okay.
Unit testing is like testing each ingredient before you even mix them together.
So before we even get to the oven, we're making sure the flour, sugar, and eggs are all in tip-top shape.
Exactly.
Okay.
And a popular tool for this is JONIT, especially for those working with Java.
So if JONIT is our ingredient inspector, what about when we want to make sure all those ingredients come together to create a delicious cake?
Yeah.
That's where integration testing comes in, right?
We got it. Integration testing is about making sure different parts of your software work together harmoniously. It's like ensuring that the cake batter isn't too runny or too dense because of how the ingredients interact.
And for this stage of the testing process, we have tools like TestNG, which your notes mention is particularly useful for larger, more complex projects. Why is that?
So TestNG takes things a step further than JUnit with features like parallel execution.
Okay.
This means you can run multiple tests simultaneously, saving you tons of time.
Wow.
It's like having multiple ovens baking those cakes at the same time.
Nice.
TestNG also offers flexible configuration options, which are essential for managing those more complex testing scenarios you find in larger projects.
It's like having a whole bakery at your disposal. Okay, so we've checked the ingredients with JUnit, mixed them, and made sure they work together with TestNG.
Yeah.
What's next in our software baking process?
Next, We need to make sure the final product actually tastes good. That's where functional testing comes into play. Functional testing ensures that your software behaves as expected from the user's perspective. It's like having taste testers for your cake, making sure it's not too sweet or too bland.
And I'm guessing this is where Selenium enters the picture. Our notes have it highlighted as a rock star for testing web applications.
Absolutely. Selenium is a powerful tool, especially for web apps. Imagine like you're testing the checkout process on your e-commerce site.
Okay.
Selenium can simulate a user adding items to their cart, entering payment information, and completing the purchase, all without a human lifting a finger.
Wow, so it's like having an army of invisible shoppers testing your website 24/7. That's incredible. But what about when you have a sudden surge of shoppers all trying to buy at the same time? Wouldn't that be like everyone rushing into your bakery at once? Could your system handle it?
That's a fantastic analogy, and it brings us to performance testing, a critical aspect of ensuring your software can handle the real world. Performance testing is all about simulating heavy user traffic to make sure your app or website doesn't crash under pressure. JMeter is a go-to tool for this. It's like stress testing your bakery to make sure it can handle those Black Friday crowds.
So we've got JUnit checking each ingredient, TestNG making sure those ingredients mix well, Selenium making sure the cake tastes good, and JMeter ensuring the bakery doesn't collapse under pressure. What about regression testing? What role does that play in our software bakery?
So regression testing is like having a quality control inspector who makes sure that fixing one thing hasn't accidentally broken something else.
Okay.
Imagine you're tweaking your cake recipe to make it even better. Regression testing would be like making sure those tweaks didn't accidentally make the cake too crumbly or alter the baking time. Tools like Ranorex and Test Complete help automate this process, ensuring that any changes to your codebase don't introduce new bugs.
That makes perfect sense. It's like the old saying, measure twice, cut once, but for software development. Okay, we've covered the main types of automated testing, and it's clear that having the right tools is essential. But it's not just about the tools themselves, is it?
You're spot on. Having a toolbox full of shiny new tools won't do you much good if you don't know how to use them effectively.
Right. So it's not just about the what, but also the how. What are some key strategies for success when it comes to implementing automated testing?
Your articles highlight some fantastic advice here. First and foremost, it's crucial to choose the right tool for the job. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. You have to consider factors like the type of application you're building, the specific testing needs of your project, and the skill set of your team.
It's like choosing the right ingredients and baking tools based on whether you're making a simple batch of cookies or a multi-tiered wedding cake.
Exactly. Trying to frost a cake with a spatula when you need a piping bag will only lead to frustration.
Right.
The same goes for using the wrong testing tools.
So how do we avoid those software frosting mishaps?
Yeah.
How can listeners figure out which tool is right for their specific situation?
Start by asking yourself a few key questions. What type of application are you testing? Web, mobile, desktop? What are your most critical functionalities that absolutely need to work flawlessly? What programming languages are your developers comfortable with? Answering these questions will help you narrow down your options.
Makes sense. It's about finding the right tool for the task at hand, just like in any other craft.
Right.
What other strategies should our listeners keep in mind?
Another crucial piece of advice is to start small. Don't try to automate everything at once. Begin with simple tests for your most critical functionalities and gradually build complexity as your framework matures. It's like mastering the art of baking a simple vanilla cake before moving on to elaborate French pastries.
So true. Trying to tackle everything at once can feel like, trying to learn French pastry from scratch. It's important to work your way up and build those automation muscles. What else do we need to keep in mind as we progress on our automated testing journey?
Regularly updating your test scripts is crucial. Think of it like your taste buds change over time, right? What you found delicious a year ago might not tantalize your taste buds today.
Right.
The same applies to software. As you update your application and user expectations evolve, your tests need to keep pace to remain accurate and effective.
That's a brilliant way to put it. So how do we make sure our automated tests are keeping up with the ever-changing world of software?
This is where parallel execution can be a game changer. Imagine being able to test your cake recipe in multiple ovens simultaneously, each with slightly different settings. You'd get feedback much faster, right?
Yeah.
Tools like TestNG and Selenium Grid allow you to run multiple tests concurrently across different browsers, operating systems, or device configurations.
So instead of waiting for one test to finish after another, we're streamlining the process by running them all at once.
Exactly. And speaking of streamlining, let's talk about integrating automated testing into your CI/CD pipeline.
Ah, yes. CI/CD, those acronyms, they pop up everywhere in the software development world. Could you break it down for us and explain how it fits into the picture?
Absolutely. CI/CD stands for continuous integration and continuous delivery or continuous deployment. It's a set of practices that help automate and streamline the process of getting your code from your developers' computers to the hands of your users.
So it's like having a well-oiled machine that takes care of all the steps involved in releasing new features or updates to your software.
Precisely. And when you integrate automated testing into your CI/CD pipeline, it's like adding a super efficient quality control checkpoint at every stage of the process. Tools like Jenkins, which we touched on earlier, can automate the execution of your tests every time a change is made to the code base.
It's like having an invisible army of testers working tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that every update is thoroughly vetted before it reaches your users. That's incredible. We also have some notes here about test data management. What's that all about?
Just like you need fresh, high-quality ingredients to bake a delicious cake, you need good test data to ensure the reliability of your automated tests. Test data management is all about creating, managing, and organizing the data that your tests rely on.
So it's not enough to just have the tests themselves. We also need to make sure we're feeding them, like accurate and relevant information.
Absolutely. Having a solid test data management strategy ensures your tests are truly representative of real-world scenarios and that the results you get are meaningful and actionable.
It's all starting to come together now.
Right.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I have to ask, do we have any real-world success stories to inspire our listeners?
As a matter of fact, we do. Your articles featured a case study of an online retailer who was struggling mightily with their checkout process.
Okay.
Manual testing was eating up their resources, and bugs were slipping through the cracks, costing them customers and revenue.
It's a tale as old as time, or at least as old as e-commerce. So how did they turn things around?
They took the automated testing plunge. They implemented Selenium to automate their web platform testing, focusing heavily on that troublesome checkout process. They also integrated Jenkins into their CI/CD pipeline to automate testing after every code change.
So they automated the automation. Music to my ears. But did they see actual results from these changes?
Oh, the results were undeniable. Their testing time was slashed in half, the number of bugs found in their live environment plummeted, and they were able to release updates much more frequently, keeping them ahead of the competition and their customers happy.
It's amazing how much of an impact automated testing can have.
It really is. And the best part is that it's not just for the big players.
Right.
Even small teams with limited resources can benefit greatly from incorporating automated testing.
So there you have it, your automated testing deep dive. We've gone from the basics to some pretty advanced concepts, and hopefully you've gained some actionable insights along the way.
And remember, the key is to start somewhere. Don't let the world of automated testing overwhelm you. Pick a small area of your application, choose a tool that fits your needs, and start experimenting. You might be surprised by how quickly you see positive results.
It's like taking that first bite of a delicious cake you've baked. Once you experience the rewards of automated testing, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner.
Exactly. And on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. If you could automate just one tedious task in your workflow today, what would it be? Share your ideas with us. Until next time, happy testing.